Hello everyone and welcome to my channel CommerceNet Scholars. The topic that we'll be discussing today is theory of consumer behavior, wherein we'll be discussing about the key concepts that are relating to consumer behavior, and the detailed videos of each of these concepts will be discussed in the upcoming videos on my channel. Now, when we are talking about theory of consumer behavior, we need to first understand what consumer behavior is all about. In simplest form, if we understand, consumer behavior means how a consumer is going to behave for the particular category of goods and services that has been offered to him or her in the market, wherein the consumer will make an attempt to maximize his or her satisfaction, accordingly making an attempt to spend a lesser amount of money. Although these concepts are a need detailed understanding, which we'll be discussing in the upcoming videos, but as of this video we shall understand what consumer behavior is all about. So let's begin with the video talking about the introduction to consumer behavior. It is the study of how consumers allocate their income to different goods and services. As I talked about, that the consumer is attempting to spend the minimum amount of money that the consumer can spend on the goods and services that he wants to purchase to maximize his satisfaction. What are the key objectives? Maximization of utility under budget constraints. See, the consumer is wanting to behave rational. That means he's not being biased for any category of products and services. What all he wants is maximum utility, maximum satisfaction that he can derive from these products and services. Also considering the budget that he is going to put on the allocation of these commodities in the market, and it is based on the assumptions of rationality and preferences. Every customer has a certain preference or choice according to which the consumer is going to behave in the market. So the theory of consumer behavior simply focuses upon two assumptions, that is, the consumer is behaving rationally, that means rationality exists, and the consumer is not behaving in a biased manner, and the preferences, that means the choice of the consumers, what kind of product he actually wants to consume. Like as we know, tea and coffee are generally considered as the substitute product, so it entirely depends upon the consumer whether he wants to consume tea or he wants to consume coffee. So this is what consumer behavior is all about. Now, if we talk about the analysis approaches of consumer behavior, we have two approaches: cardinal approach and ordinal approach. When we are talking about the cardinal approach, it assumes that utility is measurable in utils. Utils, you can understand something that is measurable in numeric form, which can be expressed in numbers. That is your cardinal approach of consumer behavior, wherein we will be studying total utility and marginal utility concepts. Now, under this cardinal approach only, we'll have the law of diminishing marginal utility, which simply states that if we start consuming more and more of a commodity, the utility that we are deriving from that commodity keeps on diminishing or decreasing. For example, if I am hungry and I want to consume 4 chapatis, as more and more chapati I am consuming, like 1, 2, 3 and 4, my utility with every increasing chapati goes on decreasing, and as I go on to 5 or 6 quantities, my utility would either become 0 or it would become negative, because I am not in a state to consume more than that. So that is what all law of diminishing marginal utility is all about, which I will be discussing in a completely separate video, wherein I will be discussing about all the assumptions and all the graphs that are associated with it. Under cardinal approach, we also measure the consumer's equilibrium, wherein marginal utility of X is divided by price of X, which is exactly equal to the marginal utility of Y commodity upon price of Y commodity. That means if a consumer has to make a choice between two commodities, commodity X and commodity Y, the satisfaction that he must get should be equal. It should not be that consuming more of commodity X is giving less satisfaction and consuming less of commodity Y is giving more satisfaction. This should not be the case. The satisfaction should be equal from both the commodities. Only then the concept of rationality will be prevalent. Next, we have the indifference curve analysis or the ordinal approach, which is a very important part of the consumer behavior theory, wherein utility is ranked rather than measured. Herein, the consumer is not able to express in form of utility or numeric terms that what utility the consumer is deriving. It is measured in the form of rank, wherein the consumer is giving a certain group of commodities different ranks that say for example, consuming more of apples is giving him more satisfaction, or consuming more of bananas is giving more of satisfaction, or a you can say rational combination of both. So therein a ranking is given to the products that are available before the customer. Indifference curve shows the combination of two goods providing same satisfaction. So indifference curve is entirely focused upon creating a balance, or you can say creating a combination of two commodities x and y, so that he is attaining same satisfaction from both commodities. For example, if a person is having say 100 rupees and he has this option of buying apples or bananas, one option is he consumes all of apples, second option is he consumes all of banana. But a rational approach or a practical approach, or you can say a better approach, would be to consume both apple and banana with this given amount of 100 rupees. What is the property of indifference curve? It is downward sloping, convex to origin, and does not intersect. The two indifference curves can never intersect each other. And herein, when we are talking about the consumer's equilibrium, the budget line is tangent to the highest indifference curve, wherein the highest possible combination, the best combination, the budget curve is tangent to it. That means budget line is basically the price line, or the price at which the commodities are being offered to us. It is tangent to the highest indifference curve, which simply states that the highest possible satisfaction is achieved by the consumer. If we talk about the budget line and consumer equilibrium, budget line is all combination of goods that a consumer can afford on a given price. Budget line is all about the price. And if we talk about the slope of the budget line, it is simply the price ratio, wherein we are calculating price of x and price of y and we are dividing it. That gives your price ratio. Equilibrium will be a point where budget line touches the highest possible indifference curve, as we discussed right now, and equilibrium will be wherein marginal rate of substitution is equal to price of x upon price of y. So this is all for today. We'll be discussing all these details, all these topics in detail in my next video. Thank you and have a nice day.